try to give myself grace. Everybody says give yourself grace. It's so hard for me to do that. At the end of the day, it's my fault, and I let everybody down.
Picture this, a sold-out arena, playoff tension hanging so thick you could cut it with a knife. The Atlanta Dream, loaded with veteran firepower, staring down an Indiana Fever team that looked more like a MASH unit than a playoff roster. 6 players gone, Caitlin Clark in street clothes, Sophie Cunningham sidelined, a team running on fumes just trying to survive. And then it happened, one of the most dominant centers in WNBA history.
And Mitchell's been quiet for a while, not anymore. Wood in Canada with another assist. A big bounce back night for her. Mitchell dribbles behind the line to take the 3. Howard with the 1.
Brittney Griner, sitting on the bench, tears streaming down her face. Not from victory, not from celebration, but from devastation. She said it herself. I try to give myself grace. Everybody says give yourself grace. It's so hard for me to do that. At the end of the day, it's my fault. I let everybody down. Let that sink in. A 2-time scoring champion, an 8-time All-Star, a player who once turned the paint into her personal kingdom. Broken, utterly broken. And the cruel irony? Her downfall came at the hands of Aaliyah Boston, a rising star who has no interest in waiting her turn. Boston didn't just compete with Griner, she dismantled her.
I don't think I've really gotten through all the way that I didn't let down, everybody in my family. And it was just, I think I'm still trying to get through that part.
Every rebound, every block, every possession was a statement. There's a new sheriff in town. This wasn't just a game. This was a torch being ripped away, live on national TV. And yet, the Fever's miracle wasn't supposed to happen. 6 rotation players gone, a coach down to chess with half a board, and still, somehow, they shocked the basketball world. So the question is, was this the night we watched Brittney Griner's era end? Or was it the night Indiana announced the birth of something legendary?
Still to this day. I try to give myself grace. Everybody says give yourself grace. It's so hard for me to do that. At the end of the day, it's my fault, and I let everybody down.
Stick around, because what happened in Atlanta is the kind of story that flips a league upside down. To understand just how seismic this upset was, we have to rewind, because on paper, this game should have been over before it even tipped off. The Indiana Fever weren't just underdogs, they were hobbling into battle with half their army missing. Caitlin Clark, out. Sophie Cunningham, out. Sydney Colson, Chloe Bibby, Ari McDonald, Damiris Dantas, all sidelined. That's 6 rotational players gone. Head coach Stephanie White was drawing up schemes on a clipboard that looked more like a scratch pad, forced to abandon the offensive sets they'd spent all year building and the defensive rotations they drilled for months.
The desperation before game 2 on Tuesday, just how does that carry over into tonight?
Well, I think anytime that you're a win or go home situation, there's desperation, and so it has to carry over. We're in the same situation. Our back is against the wall. We got to come out and we've got to play with that sense of urgency. We've got to play with that hunger. We've got to value every single possession and every single opportunity.
And yet here they were. ESPN analysts were scrambling for explanations. How does a team basically running on fumes dismantle one of the league's most talented rosters? One host asked. The truth? It wasn't luck. It wasn't a fluke. What unfolded in Atlanta was one of the most dramatic player battles in WNBA history, and a franchise finally rediscovering its soul. Because while Griner broke down, Aaliyah Boston broke through. Game 2 should have been the warning sign. Brittney Griner, the same Brittney Griner who once forced entire defenses to collapse around her, went just 4 for 16 from the floor. That's not just an off night, that's a collapse of confidence. That's a superstar watching her dominance slip away shot by shot. And when Game 3 arrived, with the Dream's entire season on the line, the unthinkable happened. Griner was benched, not for foul trouble, not for injury, benched because her coach had lost faith in the very player who had been the backbone of the franchise. The sight was shocking. Griner on the sideline, towel draped over her head, fighting back tears as her teammates tried to claw their way into the semifinals without her.
We've just been through so much this season, giving ourselves another chance in Game 3. Emotions are high.
This is a group that's confidence has really never wavered. This group has continued to show their heart, their character, night in and night out.
think we all piggyback off each other within our group and our organization.
We've been in every kind of situation you can imagine, and we've been able to find ways to put ourselves in position to win, and this will be no different.
Somebody has to lose this.
On the other side, Aaliyah Boston was delivering a playoff masterclass. 14 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. Those numbers only hint at her impact. She wasn't just scoring, she was dictating every possession. She read Griner's post moves before they even developed, using pure discipline and positioning to smother her. She didn't need the highlight reel blocks. She just erased Griner's comfort zones, one possession at a time. The defining sequence came late in the fourth. Odyssey Sims, a hardship contract player barely 2 weeks with the team, dropped a perfect entry pass into Boston. Boston turned, laid it in with ease, and the Fever took the lead. On the other end, Griner sat powerless, head in her hands, watching her playoff hopes vanish. This wasn't a passing of the torch. This was a ripping away. A young star refusing to bow to legacy, and an old guard realizing her reign might be over. This series wasn't just about numbers on a box score. It was about pride, about legacy, about the unbearable weight of expectation. For more than a decade, Brittney Griner had been the face of dominance in the paint. Teams built entire scouting reports around stopping her, and usually failed.
Indiana Fever are heading to the semifinals.
Driving to the foul line in the paint, lays it in. Sims crossover left to right, gets into the paint, layup, good.
Inside, Boston.
Every rebound Boston ripped away, every cut Kelsey Mitchell made to the basket, every time Odyssey Sims carved into the defense, you could see the cracks in Atlanta's confidence widening. And when Griner was finally pulled, the Dream's entire identity collapsed with her. The team that once looked unstoppable suddenly looked ordinary, hesitant, second-guessing, desperate. Meanwhile, Indiana's so-called scraps were playing like stars. Kelsey Mitchell dropped 24 points, keeping the Fever alive when it looked like the game was slipping. Odyssey Sims, again a hardship signing, calmly directed the offense like she'd been running it all season. And Lexi Hull, she made the defensive play of the series, reading Ryan Howard's inbound like a book and stealing the ball to seal the win. That single moment symbolized the night. Atlanta fumbling their chance, Indiana refusing to let go of theirs. It wasn't just an upset, it was a meltdown on one side and a revolution on the other. What made this game so surreal wasn't just the collapse of a superstar, it was the rise of players who, on paper, had no business deciding a playoff series. Start with Odyssey Sims. Just weeks earlier, she was unsigned, her career in limbo, waiting for a phone call that might never come. Indiana brought her in on a hardship contract, a temporary band-aid to fill minutes while the roster was decimated by injuries. But against Atlanta, Sims didn't just fill minutes, she controlled the tempo. 16 points, 8 assists, and most importantly, poise. That last-second dish to Aaliyah Boston wasn't luck, it was the decision-making of a veteran who knew exactly when to strike. Then there's Lexi Hull. She's not the kind of player who fills highlight reels or grabs headlines, but in crunch time, she turned into a thief in the night. With just seconds left, Ryan Howard tried to deliver a miracle inbound. Hull read it perfectly, snatched it out of the air, and slammed the door shut on Atlanta's season. One defensive stop, one instinctive gamble, and Indiana was moving on. And let's not forget the energy from the injured stars. Caitlin Clark on the bench, rocking black Air Force Ones that Fever fans instantly called the team's new good luck charm. Sophie Cunningham acting like an assistant coach, barking instructions and firing up her teammates.
To Jones, throws it up.
No good! Game over!
Think about it. For years, the WNBA has been defined by towering names. A'ja Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Brittney Griner. The league marketed them as untouchable titans, the kind of players who defined eras. But on this night, that entire narrative cracked. Fans weren't talking about Griner's dominance anymore. They were talking about Aaliyah Boston dismantling her. They weren't raving about Atlanta's star power. They were in awe of Indiana's patchwork roster refusing to fold. The Fever's win sent shockwaves far beyond the scoreboard. Analysts on ESPN and FS1 couldn't stop replaying Boston's footwork, Sims's poise, Hull's steal. Social media exploded with changing of the guard debates. Some called it the end of Griner's reign. Others called it the birth of Indiana's dynasty. Either way, one thing was clear. The WNBA hierarchy was no longer set in stone. And then there's the cultural side. The Fever have become the team to watch, even when they're short-handed. Caitlin Clark's rookie season already turned Indiana into into a box office draw. But now, even without her on the floor, this squad is proving it can win. That's massive for a league hungry to expand its audience. Meanwhile, the Dream face a reckoning. If Griner isn't the answer anymore, what happens next? Do they rebuild around Ryan Howard? Do they gamble on trades? Or do they cling to a superstar whose prime may be fading before our eyes? This wasn't just a series loss for Atlanta. It was an identity crisis. For Indiana, it was validation that heart, chemistry, and sheer belief can take down talent on paper. The question is, was this a one-time miracle or the foundation of a future dynasty? And so, here we are. The Indiana Fever, a team the league would have been perfectly fine keeping buried at the bottom of the standings, are still standing. Sophie Cunningham, in a brace, still finding ways to inject fire. Caitlin Clark, absorbing hit after hit, still pushing the pace. Christy Sides, once ridiculed for apologies, now coaching with a bite in her voice. And the Fever fans? Louder, prouder, and more unified than ever. The WNBA wanted neat storylines. Asia Wilson's dominance, Brianna Stewart's legacy, Paige Becker's rise, Angel Reese's social media empire.
Lucia just 4 of 16 from the floor in game 2. That's terrific call into Boston. Beautiful.
But that's exactly what they've done. So here's the real question. What happens now? Will the league clamp down even harder on the Fever's spotlight? Or are we witnessing the start of a new era where players like Clark and Cunningham break free from the script the WNBA tried to hand them? Either way, one thing is undeniable. The Indiana Fever are no longer passengers in this league. They're driving the bus, swerving past every obstacle and daring anyone, be it refs, rivals, or even the league office, to try and stop them. Because if this playoff run has proven anything, it's that the Fever story isn't one the league wanted. It's one the league needed. And trust me, the ride is just getting started.